We've seen some crazy freezing temperatures of late. I saw in the news last night, it was minus 30 in Fargo, North Dakota. I can't even imagine how cold it is in Canada right now. So in today's episode, a timely video for you. What do you do about a frozen pipe, a plumbing emergency? What's the knowledge and what are the tools you're gonna need so if this happens to you, you're ready to go and you're looking like a hero. All right, in the build show today, I've got 4 tips for you on how to deal with plumbing emergencies. Now, number one, the first thing you want to do anytime you've got any plumbing emergency is shut the water off. You know, if you've got a house built by me or my company, you've got an inside water shut off. That's going to be a ball valve that all you got to do is turn it a quarter turn and that house water is going to be totally shut off so that now you can fix the leak without water bursting out of there. However, if you're doing a remodel, if you've got a problem with a frozen pipe, you may not have the luxury of an inside shutoff. This brings us to our very first tool. You want to keep a pair of 12-inch channel locks in your truck or in your toolbox at all times. This is going to help you lift off the manhole, which is going to be the shutoff by the street. You're going to be able to put this right into that hole on the manhole cover, wrench this up, pop the cover out, and then you can either use this or one of these crescent adjustables, and now we're going to shut off the water at the meter. Now what happens if you can't get that water to shut off? That's certainly happened to me before. The valve literally broke off in my hand, or frankly, I just couldn't figure out where the shutoff was. Let's say you're doing a remodel and you didn't know where that was. What about an active leak? Now, believe it or not, there is a $6 product that I keep with me. I don't use it very often, but this can be a lifesaver. This is a self-fusing silicone tape. They make it in a bunch of different styles, but it basically looks like a thin piece of silicone caulk that comes in a roll or a long tube. And here's what it can do for you. You can actually wrap it around a plumbing pipe and fix a leak. Now, the usual intended purpose of this is if you've got a drain pipe, let's say, that's leaking. In fact, I just used this at a friend's house the other day that had an emergency. They had water coming out of their drain underneath the sink, and simply wrapping this around nice and tight, overlapping it, you can basically stop an emergency drain leak. Now, you still want to get the plumber out to fix this. This isn't a full-term solution, but at least a good short-term solution. But you know what? I was curious whether this would stop an active pressure leak. So what we did was we took one of these pipes from our frozen pipe test, we drilled an 1/8-inch hole, and we blew out 80 PSI full water pressure out of this thing. And Jordan helped me out with this. He got absolutely drenched, but believe it or not, you can fix an active spewing pipe with this. I'm just glad it's not spraying me in the face anymore. Now what you're gonna do, here's the method. You're basically gonna wrap several times on the left-hand side of the leak, come over to the right-hand side and wrap several times. And then when you get to finally wrapping over top of where the leak is, you're gonna get wet, don't get me wrong. This is definitely something that's gonna get you soaked. Wear a raincoat. But once you wrap that enough times, get a nice stretch on there, because this stuff does elongate about 300%. Stretch it up nice and tight, wrap it all the way around, and once you get enough pressure on there, believe it or not, you can get that pipe to totally seal an active high pressure leak. That is pretty awesome. You're not going to do that very often, but that's a really good tool to have in your tool case. Okay, next, what if you've got a leak, we are able to shut it off, and you need a fix before the plumber can get there to at least get your house from stopping the flood, maybe to stop that leak that's happening in the basement? That's where these guys come in handy. These are Sharkbite connectors. I've did a whole video on these and my thoughts about them, but I'll tell you, these are definitely something you want to have in your emergency toolkit. I keep 2 flavors. I keep an end stop and I keep a coupling. Now, if you're a builder or a modeler, these come in really handy, especially during the demo or the remodel phase. Let's say if you're taking out a wall in a house, you didn't realize that your Sawzall blade hit a plumbing pipe, you just nicked it. You can actually cut that pipe, put a coupling in there and fix that until you get the plumber there the next day or the next week to fix it for good. And the other option is use an end cap like this. If you had a burst pipe, let's say on this 3/4 inch water line right here to the outside of a house, if you had a burst like that, you could cut the pipe, put an end stop on there, and now you've got a fix that's at least going to get you through until you got the plumber there. So I keep those in my emergency toolkit in all those shapes and sizes. All right, the next thing you want to have in your tool case too, as we're talking about those pipes, is you want to have a couple of different cutters available. I like this size right here. This is a mini pipe cutter. This is going to work on basically your copper pipes, but you want to have something that you can cut PEX or PVC with as well. And that's why I like to keep these in my tool case as well for those plumbing emergencies. But the last type of emergency I want to mention before we finalize this video is clogged drains. You know, my wife and my teenage daughter have long hair, and I get a lot of clogged drains in my house. I don't recommend using chemicals to pull those out, the kind that you see on the shelf that you're going to pour down the drain. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they're not particularly the safest product. I've seen some cast iron that's had problems because of years of their use, and I also know of stories where kids have gotten into it, so don't keep those in your house. All you need are these. These are a couple dollars each, and you can clear just about any clog with the Zip It tool. This guy, you're gonna pop the drain cover off, particularly a master shower, let's say, that's gotten a lot of hair. Pull the cover off, drop this down into the P-trap, and the barbs on here are gonna stick and pull that clog up. These cost like $5, super cheap and super handy. And if you've got a drain that you have a hard time getting to, that's where the drain weasel comes in. Terrible name, but this has a little disposable handle and kind of a Velcro looking cap on the end here. And as thin as this is, you don't have to remove your cover on your drain to get in there. This would work particularly well for sinks. And believe it or not, you can get a giant amount of hair with just this small little tool. So this is really handy as well. Okay, a couple other tools I wanted to mention that I keep in my plumbing 911 kit. I like to always keep a screwdriver with me because you never know when you're going to have to remove a trim or something on a faucet to get there. I also like a small pair of pliers that I've got some electrical tape on. This is going to allow me to take aerators off of faucets without damaging things. And you always want to have a couple of Allen keys with you. This is an SAE and a metric set by Elkind, and that's a great little set. And check this out. All these tools that will handle what I would say is probably 90% of the plumbing emergencies fit in this tiny little tool case. I found this guy on Amazon for 10 bucks. It slides nicely into the back of my pickup truck, and now I can be the hero in just about any plumbing emergency. Thanks for joining me, guys. Stay tuned next week when Jordan Smith and I are going to test some Sharkbite caps and see if a Sharkbite will actually stop an active leak on a pipe as well at full pressure. Someone's going to get wet on that video. Otherwise, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.